Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Hashtag Blind Talk. I'm your co host, Murray, and I'm here today with my other co host.
TJ.
And so, TJ, today we are going to be talking about a pretty broad subject called your toolkit and what's involved in your toolkit. And a lot of people just think it's assistive technology, but we're going to bring it wider today. We're going to talk about things like our supersonic hearing and and other fine things that blind people use to stay sane and keep up to date with everything, because we all do need a toolkit, and I think it's important to be able to unpack what those things are, talk about how we use them, and talk about some of our experiences. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me. I'm all in for that. Technology and the tools that we have that are available to us, it never stops evolving, and it's amazing. So yeah, I can speak from experience a few things that I personally do here that help me, and I would love to hear from others what they do.
Well, absolutely. We love to get the feedback, and thank you so much to everybody who has said nice things about the podcast. Every time I hear that, I just smile. You sent me a video that Brandon did,
Hmm.
and tagged us into, and so thank you. And of course, Jesse and Mandy and Janelle and everybody just regularly takes the time to be able to give us
Yes,
feedback about each episode and how it's touched them and how impactful it's been. This is why we do it. We get pretty raw and pretty personal with our stories, and so we're glad
hmm
that it resonates with you guys. We're excited to be able to do all of our episodes, and just it gives me so much joy to be able to see the difference that it's making, and the fact that people can relate, and just talking about things that we all go through can help everybody.
hmm
So thank
for
you so
sure.
much to the community who's been so wonderful.
Indeed, indeed. We definitely couldn't do this without the support of others and the feedback that we get. And I didn't know how impactful these things could be until I started hearing feedback from others, and it pushes me to continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Now, before we get started, we've both had things that we've been doing in the past week. We'll talk a little bit about that if you're okay, to unpack that. So you went to Houston and had your trial
I
um,
did.
medication this past week.
Hmm.
Seemed like everything went as well as it could go, but obviously
Yes.
still a lot to deal with.
Yes, yes. It went well. My main concern this past time was navigating through TSA at the airport with the shortages and that sort of thing, but all of that was resolved. So that took a little bit of stress off of me. It's hard enough to navigate that particular airport. It's been under construction for a long time and that sort of thing. So it's very spread out. And so once you finally get it where you think you know where you're going, then they change something. And then with the long lines and that sort of thing, I was really stressing. But thankfully, everything worked out. I flew in Sunday evening and had a quick little nap, I guess, and was back up. We began Monday morning at 7 a.m. So I have to do a series of tests, and it varies per visit what is required. Some visits we do more than others. Um, and so we got started at 7 because initially I was supposed to come home like I always do the same day that I get the injection. But we had pushed it to the next day of me coming home to not have to rush anything. So we got started early anyway and finished up. I received the injection, all went well with that. I had a little bit of a floater. Off and on for the rest of the day, had some redness and that sort of stuff, which is common, but it resolved and has progressively gotten better throughout the week. So, my next visit, actually, we've changed it. There's a window that they have on the protocol because things do come up. I've been in the trial now for 2 years and still have 2 more years to go. Things come up, especially in the summer months, and with storms and the hurricane season has prolonged things sometimes where I couldn't get out of here or I couldn't get into Houston. So both of us fight those issues with dealing with hurricanes and that sort of stuff. So they do allow for like this window of opportunity that you have to stay in to be able to receive it on schedule. And my doctor there is going on a trip to Sicily, and I asked him, I said, I had heard that he may not be there. And I said, are you going to be here for my visit? And he said, when are you coming again? And I told him, and he said, no. And I was
Uh,
like, yeah, I don't like that. So he said, well, if you want to come to Sicily and I'll give it to you, I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds great.
that sounds like a good compromise, right?
Yeah. So we made an adjustment. He said, I would like to see if, we can get you in within the protocol. And if it coincides with, your schedule or whatever, let's do that. So we've pushed it out a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I guess, from the original date. So I'm very thankful for that. And I'm thankful that they are able to accommodate those type things, because it's scary enough getting an injection in your eye. Um, it's even scarier if you don't know the person who is doing it and you've never seen them before. It doesn't matter if you tell me
Yeah,
how great they are and how many injections they've done, that
doesn't
level of
matter.
comfort. No.
Absolutely.
So everything went well, made it back home safely, and haven't had any issues this week. I was pretty blurry in that eye for the first couple of days, but that's getting better. And that happens every time you get something injected in your eye, whether it's
Yeah.
medicine or whatever, so they warn you about that sort of thing. So, but all is well.
Excellent. Well, we're really pleased that things went as well as they could. I have been at a workshop with 18 teenagers for the last week in Seattle, and that was an adventure. It was a lot of fun. 11 to 12 hour days, so
Hmm.
it takes it out of you for sure. And but just some really special moments with the group, and we
Oh.
had 9 returning students who'd been to
Mm,
workshops before, and then 9 new students, and so it was great to be able
nice.
to just see that divide, and just students coming together with blindness and low vision to really
Mm,
support each other and bring each other in. And we our workshop was around AI, and then all of the things you can do with AI. So that was pretty exciting, to be able
yes.
to do all of that, and for them to really realize the power that AI can bring them, and how it can help them, and how
Hmm.
they can use it to supplement their own thoughts and their own curiosities and creativity. So we went to Microsoft on Monday, and that was a lot of fun. We had the manager of Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, come in. And then we also had the gentleman who founded Seeing AI. So the app Seeing AI,
Nice.
he created
Uh-huh.
that. A gentleman called Zucker from England. He was in London when he created Seeing AI. And just to hear about the journey of one, how people with blindness and low vision can be employed in high level positions within a Fortune 500 company, was
Yeah.
encouraging for my students, but also to think and everything's possible, and it was great then to be able to think about, well, how do we use these things? How can we put them into what I call our toolkit, and how can our toolkit be powerful to help us with everything? Um, it, Technology has come so far so quickly. Like the last
Yes.
3 to 5 years with all of AI and ChatGPT and Claude, and of course Gemini through Google and Copilot through Microsoft. It's just blowing up, really, and I think it's overwhelming for people that have done things a certain way with assistive technology, to now think about different ways to be able to do things. And sometimes we find it really overwhelming to be able
Hmm.
to learn a new piece of equipment or learn a new app or piece of technology. And it can be really overwhelming. And, TJ and I were talking about change just before we started recording, and I think none of us really love change and
Right.
the ability to learn new things. But learning is power, really. I'd
It
say
is.
the ability to learn, or even just talk to somebody about different things, and you can always learn more. That even if you master something, I've been using Zoom Text for 20 years plus, and Zoom Text for me just enlarges just to double the size of print on my computer, and then I
Mhm.
have the voice component. But I'm using voice more and more now because I like the interaction. I am a audible learner, and being legally blind since birth, I've always just learned by listening, talking books when I was younger, um, and listening to talking books on tape to start with, and now obviously there's Audible and different programs like that you can just go listen to anything. But
Mhm.
and of course our iPhones where you can now talk to ChatGPT and Google and Copilot and all those things. And I was talking to Jesse, who runs Copilot, and I said, I really love that you've integrated voice technology. And she said it's really an important thing and probably the biggest thing that they're going to continue to work on to be able to make it easier to talk to Copilot and for
Mhm.
Copilot to do what you're asking it to do. So we're in that change now in technology where speaking to things has become a high priority for big companies like Microsoft. So that's good news for us, but now
It
we have to
is.
learn how to use it and how do you use it. So
Exactly.
with I think change comes challenges, and
Mhm.
I'd love to be able to hear from our audience in Blind Talk community how you're tackling those sort of things, how you're dealing with those sort of things, training, learning. It's always interesting to me how people learn.
I agree with that. And I'm very much an audible learner as well. It's just not only do I find that it's easier for me than reading a long text or reading a book now and things like that. It's not just that, it puts a more personable touch to it. Like I feel like if sometimes things are misconstrued in a text message, right? And you don't sometimes get your point across or it comes across in a wrong way. If you can actually hear how I'm saying it, it may sound differently than how you read it. So I think that goes a long way. And we are in a generation now, unfortunately, where people do not communicate well. It's all done via a text message or an email, that sort of thing. So I feel like it maybe also aids in how to talk to people and how to be personable. For me, I love for someone to send me a voice message so that I can hear their voice, for one. And for two, just be able to continue to do what I'm doing, listening to it, and then record a response back to them that I love that feature, and I've used it a lot in work lately. I guess I was introduced recently when our computers did an Microsoft update to the AI feature that was in there. And honestly, it took me off guard to begin with. I didn't know. It was just an automatic update. I came into work and it was on there. And I'm like, oh, wow, what is all of this extra stuff on here? So it
The lovely
prompted me to
update.
dive. Yeah, yeah. So it prompted me to dive a little deeper into how to use it best. And I wish that I could take part in classes to learn that sort of thing. What you did with these students this week, that's amazing. Not just surrounding them with people that are like them, because, like I've said many times before, I personally don't know anyone else with vision loss
Yeah.
in my life. So it can be isolating. Um, Being able to be surrounded by those people in real life and do things, learn with them, that's just awesome. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I would love to start looking at adult workshops like that because I think it's so
Yes.
important. And I'll tell you the other thing that I see a lot is parents. You know, this time we had probably 7 parents stay in, and normally we don't like to do that. But I think
Hmm.
the dime is shifting a little bit because parents of students with blindness and low vision, they don't know what to do either. You know, they don't know how to do that separation of, I call them bubble parents a little bit, and or the term helicopter parents also applies,
Right.
where you know parents are doing everything for their kids, but they don't
Hmm.
know how to stop, and they want to stop, but they, you know, of course you're going to do everything for your child, right? Because that's just how life is. Um,
Right.
but what that leads to is, you know, a 30-year-old who we have in some of our parts who can't travel, can't be independent, doesn't have the skills or the confidence to be able to do a lot of things like grocery
Right.
shop or clothes shop or meet new people and go and do things independently. And so there's that divide. And so we get a lot of students when they're 14, 15, and they're homeschooled as an example, because of bullying in many cases,
Hmm.
and very isolated in their life. Their family is their life, and
Right.
everything else outside of that bubble doesn't exist. And so my job is really to be able to create a very quick confidence level in that student and that parent to say, okay, we need to start separation here, and we need to encourage the student to be able to do things like make their bed, be able to groom themselves each day, you know, have a routine that they can
Hmm.
adjust to that feels comfortable for the student and that they can grasp and do. And then the parent
Right.
needs to be able to be hands off and let that child go through, you know, what that journey is. So that's really difficult for families, I think. And again, the toolkit is so important in that space that
Hmm.
the child has things to be able to do. So obviously, like the visual aspect of grooming, you know, when I talk about young men and shaving, you know, I'll use the touch effect. So, okay, you're touching your beard or your goatee or whatever it is that you want to shave. With me, it's my head. Um, give it a once over. But you know, it's real, right? It's like you've got to be able to adjust and use things other than your vision to be able to know that you're doing things the right way. Last night, I was talking to my father-in-law, and I was saying, you know, he was saying, "Oh, you know, tell me about like how good people with blindness their hearing is." And of course, you know, Superman, supersonic hearing type of thing. Everybody thinks that that's the case for people with blindness, but how
Right.
we train ourselves, right, is when you're going to cross a road, okay, it's great to be able to look left and right and left again, but you know, you're not going to see the electronic car coming that doesn't make a noise, right? So you've
Exactly.
got to use all of your senses now to be able
Yes.
to do that, and hopefully
Hmm.
have your seeing eye cane with you, right?
Exactly. That CNI cane that
That
I like
seeing
to
eye
call it.
cane.
Your Southern accent is getting so good.
Yeah, well, you know, I did live in Alabama. We were just talking about hurricane season, and I moved to Mobile, Alabama 1 month before Hurricane Katrina happened.
Oh, goodness.
And luckily, I was up near the airport, but downtown in Mobile flooded 14 feet and
Oh,
just, you know, obviously wrecked the whole Gulf Coast. And
yeah.
so, yes, that was my introduction to Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, goodness.
And it was pretty scary, to be honest with you. So
I'm
I
sure.
remember going to the
Yes.
Target and thinking, well, I'll just get some supplies. All gone. Every shelf is out,
Everything.
done.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm a little slow to the a little slow to the dance here. But you know, it was an experience for sure. But I think, you know, we go through things in our life where we we do so much extra to do anything.
Mhm. Right.
You know, and I was talking about we're going to the Cheesecake Factory for my mother-in-law's birthday tonight. And I said, you know, I will get online and I'll look at the menu before we go and
Hmm.
I'll check out and I've been to the Cheesecake Factory a couple of times, so I know kind of where the bathrooms are and things like that. But we do all of that. I told them, you know, when I went to the US Open tennis in New York last year, I looked up YouTube videos of catching the subway, which train I needed to catch, how to get to the platform, how to catch
Hmm.
the train to the stop to get off to go to the tennis. I said, we do all of those things. And my wife's like, I didn't know you did that. And we, partners don't, right? We just do it
We
independently.
just do it. Hmm.
That's what we do to feel more comfortable in our environment. And we look at things and although we don't have much sight or we have no sight in some cases, it's the sounds, it's the noises, it's the time that it takes, to get from one place to the other. And we're talking about driving directions, and I'm all about landmarks and using landmarks to remember where we need to be or where we need to go. So my wife will get
Hmm.
lost somewhere driving, and I'll be like, I think we need to go this way. And she's like, well, how do you know? I'm like, because this store is here. And I remember turning right there and going up the street. And she's like, well, how do you remember all of that? But it's what we do,
It's just
right?
what we do.
Yep.
It's
Who we
exactly
are and
what
what
we
we
do.
do. And
Hmm.
so I think we all go through it and we've all talked about it, but it's that reinforcement of how we work as people with blindness and low vision to be able to get to where we need to do and do the things that we need to do. So I think
Exactly.
the toolkit is just another aspect of that.
It is. It
Yeah, Jay, do you
is.
want to talk about some of the things that you really utilize your toolkit for and what's been powerful? You've obviously talked a lot about getting your orientation mobility instruction first
Hmm.
as a first,
Hmm.
and then, using your seeing eye cane and doing more things independently.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
else has been impactful for you?
Following that training, then I also had a visit with the low vision clinic and saw a specialist there. And they went through a whole host of different things with me. Tried a bunch of different glasses, a bunch of lenses, a bunch of magnifiers, and that sort of thing. And then we kind of narrowed down at that point what was most beneficial for me. And so I got a monocular was one thing that I love that thing because when I go to a ballpark, I can use it and see all the way across the field with it.
Yeah,
So I use that thing a lot this time of year.
yeah,
Um, I also have a set of glasses that have magnifiers on them for the TV. And I find that that brings things much closer for me if it is something that is a very like dark in color, or you can't, when I don't think filmmakers realize when you have those scenes that are filmed in the dark, and
yeah.
like it's in a house where there's no lights on and someone's creeping through. I honestly can't tell who's what or where things are in there when I'm watching it, so it kind of brings it closer for me. And so I do like to use them, that and to read the TV guide. That's always nice. um, so I have a large also magnifier that I can use on small documents at work, which comes in very handy. Here, I was a little behind the game as far as technology went because we did not have access to Wi-Fi here for a long time.
Wow,
We were one of I've only had Wi-Fi for maybe 3 years now total.
wow.
And at first, it was not the best. They have since made changes and upgrades and that sort of thing, and we've become more of a member of our county. We were in an unforgotten part of the county here. And
Right.
so when we got internet, that was life changing for me
Yeah.
because about that time, I guess I saw these people were doing the Alexas and all the smart plugs and stuff like that. So I went crazy with that sort of stuff. I ordered smart plugs for all of my lamps around the house because depending on the day and the lighting, how it is outside, um, I need more light. Or some days I need less light if it's really, really bright outside. So I put every lamp, I have a ton of lamps around here. I put all of them on smart plugs. I have them all linked to Alexas, in which I have in 3 rooms in the house. And I have it set to where I can say good morning, and all of my lights, all of the lamps will come on in the rooms that I'm predominantly in, right? Um, when I get in the bed at night, I tell her good night, and all of my lights go off. So that is also
Right.
very handy because I can't see in the dark.
Yeah. I
I
think
have,
one of the things I loved that you showed me when we first met actually was your light setup. And I
yeah,
love that you did that because I think the home environment is so important to feel comfortable in, right? And
yes.
um, especially if you're going through vision loss, the adjustment period to be able to think about where things are without looking at everything is a
Hmm.
very different situation, right? And so you might have lived in your house for years, but essentially you don't think about, well, how many steps does it take to get from the bedroom to the bathroom or the kitchen, to somewhere else? And
Hmm.
um, if it's dark or you're up in the middle of the night type of thing, it's really important to know your environment. My little doggy Libby Bell, she got lost. She's totally blind now, and she got lost in our in-laws' house trying to go to the bathroom, and she got stuck behind a chair. And it
Oh,
was like 2 a.m. in the morning, completely dark, and she just didn't know where she was. And it reinforced to me, like, okay, uh, you think you know the route, but you need tools to be able to make yourself comfortable to have that
hmm,
reference points. And it's just little things, right, that make the biggest difference. So I was really
for
pleased
sure.
that you'd gone through that journey of understanding what that is for you, and you have
Exactly.
set up your home environment correctly. And I think a lot of
Yes.
people don't think about our home environment, right? I remember my sister telling me, well, I don't really understand, I didn't, when I was a child, I didn't really understand like what your vision was like, but mum always told us we have to pick up our toys because, you know, you were coming over or something like that. And so
Hmm.
it's just like random things where they're not supposed to be and you're stepping on. I felt bad for moms. I hear Jessie talking about her kids a lot, and
I know.
I'm like, oh man, it's a minefield out there for you.
No kidding. That is absolutely true. And now I'm going because Judgy is a puppy and he loves toys and his bones that he loves to chew on. So we have an abundance of those things. It's almost if you walked in my house, you would think I had a toddler. And they are scattered all about. And I can't tell you how many times I say throughout the day, "Oh, there's a bone." Like
Yeah,
I stepped on it, and it's immediate. It's almost like a Lego. And it's brutal. But
yeah,
anyway, so aside from his things around on the floor in here, there's not much that gets changed unless I do it.
right.
And then I make sure that I familiarize myself with it to not run into something or hurt myself. If you move anything out of the ordinary for me, I don't care if the couch is 2 inches to the left or to the right.
You're gonna find it.
I'm gonna find it usually with a toe or
Yeah,
yeah. It's no fun. So, and I do have baseboard motion lights that I found on Amazon, and we have those periodically throughout here. So when I start to walk down the hallway, and we kind of trial and error with that, kind of set them on the floor, and see when I got to a certain point, when did it pick me up to go off to shine on the floor, and then we would set another one. As soon as that one I would get out of the light on that one, another one would pick me up to kind of help me along the way. I added LED lights under my bed for one, and for two under my vanity in my bathroom, and those stay on all the time, so I don't have to worry about them being turned off unless the power surges, and then I know that they need to be reset. But when I get up to go and it's totally dark in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, I can see enough to get in there safely. And so we have that. I have LED light strips that are underneath my kitchen cabinets to shine more light down on the counter, and that's very helpful. And I do utilize my Alexa devices. She's going to chime in if I say her name. I do use that a lot, and it's just for certain timers or reminders. And I think I mentioned before I'd had back surgery and neck surgery, and I would say I need you to keep a list of when I last took my medication.
Yeah.
And, so I logged it there and set me a reminder for 4 hours, and that sort of thing. So it's very, very useful. Um, and like I said, just the extra lighting here and being able to change it accordingly is just huge. Because some days, like I said, I need all the light, and some days all the light is just too much. So
Yeah.
that
See,
finding
I'm a
that
bit the other way,
balance.
and I think like I like it darker, to be honest with you, because the light is challenging for me, and so if it's too
Mhm.
bright, so like the LED strips, you can buy these, and I think they're like $12 or something from Amazon, and I got a pack of three, but I put them in the bathroom or in the bedroom, and they're motion sensor, like you said, and so when you
Mhm.
walk by them or walk to them, it'll go on. I even got a toilet bowl light. Um,
I've seen those.
it's
Yes.
amazing for men. It's amazing.
I'm sure. And I'm sure your wife really appreciates you
Yes,
doing
she
that
does.
too.
But it's great, right? But then when you're in the shower and the lights off, this glow comes out of the toilet bowl, which is a bit disturbing. So I don't know if it's all that great sometimes, but little things like make the biggest difference.
It
And
does. It does.
you need to find your own environment. Like it's going to be different for everybody, with
Hmm.
different conditions, and different levels of vision. But I think just looking into that and playing around with things, and trial and error to be able to find what your perfect home setup is so important, because when you're in your house, and we're in our house a lot, it's important to feel empowered, and know that you can get around your home.
Indeed. Indeed. And not being scared to learn. Everybody, we had to learn how to feed ourselves, right? At one point in
Yep.
time, we had to learn how to walk. We had to learn how, all the things. So being I can tell you, at first, technology for me was scary, and I was a little. I was like, I'm not sure about all of this. Like, what if I do something wrong? Um, it's not that scary though. It is actually very useful, and I know that some people they fear the change. I fear change as well because once I get things my head wrapped around how things are, and this is in Apple, we were just discussing this before we got on here about how Apple updates are just chronically rolling out, and it's
Oh
like as
boy.
soon as you get used to something they change it again. So I they need to leave well enough alone for a little bit, and it annoys me when I know where something is on my phone, and then you don't have the option to change it back. Like my search bar at the bottom, like
Yeah.
there's some you can't move it, and I'm used to it being at the top. Like, don't change it on me.
I just saw that Motorola is considering bringing back the flip phone that says, the Hello Moto, like the old
Oh,
flip phone. I
oh
used to
yeah,
have a Motorola flip phone, and I reckon that a lot of people will go get one because they're just done with it. They're
I
on the
know.
other side of the hill, and your smartphone now is, your you can be your life, and like working, and doing a lot of emailing, and
Hmm.
document. I do probably 85% of my work now on my phone, and so for me, like the learning curve is steep. But every time I get a new iPhone, I always like go to YouTube and just make sure I'm
Learn, yeah.
looking it and learning it and getting with the latest settings. And there's some really good things that'll help you. But that toolkit is so important. There's so many options. Like I'm on the steering committee for a state conference in Washington State, in May, and the keynote speaker will be the CEO of Be My Eyes, and
Nice.
so and Mike's really a good guy, and they're very committed to that. And then, as I said, I saw the founder of Seeing AI, through Microsoft, and the work that we did there last week. And so just being able to interact with these people and understand like Okay, tell me about what features you're working on. And I know that they're both about to bring out new features, which are exciting. And I talked to them about, okay, well, when you bring a new feature out, what's the learning curve? You know, like how much learning takes in, and what are you doing to help people learn? And interesting, you know, they get a lot of feedback. They do a lot of work within the blind community to be able to connect with people to test these things. So at least that's happening, you know, and I'm excited about that because I think we were talking about orientation mobility instructors the other day, and you and I have talked about, you know, partners and family members really understanding blindness and low vision. And you know, an orientation mobility person can go and put a blindfold on for an hour and understand what it's like to be blind, but then they don't live it. Going, catching a train, catching a bus,
Exactly.
getting an Uber, you know, being in their house, navigating that, getting to work, whatever it is. And
Hmm.
so I feel like you do need that level of lived experience to be able to truly understand
For
what it
sure.
is. And so I was asking, you know, an orientation mobility instructor the other day about one of my students that I do some TikToks with, Ulysses, with the eye patch, and you know, he
Hmm.
has he's a funny kid, and but you know, like I said to the orientation mobility instructor, this is what I really want you to work on with Ulysses. And he didn't really do it, you know. And I said to Ulysses, well, what happened? You know, did you address this? And he's like, well, no, we just like learned general cane training. And so I went and did the lesson with Ulysses that I really wanted the orientation mobility instructor to do. And Ulysses is like, oh, this is so different. Like
So different.
it's actually really practical. And I think you can cane train somebody, but actually teaching them orientation and mobility about how to do things is very
Mhm.
different from cane training. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think that's lost on many of the O&M instructors that come
I
out.
agree. I agree. I agree. I know for me also, what I have had to learn outside of my O&M trainer came here, and so we practice here in the house. We practice going down steps. I was blindfolded, you know, numerous times, walk down the road and that sort of thing. There are so many things that are not here that I have encountered when traveling. One being an escalator. Okay.
Yeah.
That can be very tricky if you choose to do an escalator.
Yes.
I'm one for a challenge, and I don't like, you know, I'm not, somebody wants to put me in an elevator or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, okay, but I would rather do just as so teach me how to do that for myself,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so I've taught myself how to do that. I've taught myself how to navigate a bunch of stairs aside from just your everyday 4 or 5 steps going, you know, up and down the house, you know, whenever you
Yeah.
start going, you know, to places like, such as a ballpark where you have numerous other, you know, steps and to get to where you're going. Like we do a ballpark tour, and the first thing the tour guide wants to do is send me to the elevator, and I'm like,
Right.
no, what if you say something when I'm not here and I'm in the elevator and you're on the steps and I want to hear it? No, you know. So yeah, I think that until you are living it or experiencing it for yourself, and I wonder that sometimes when these things roll out from a technology standpoint, like who is giving you this information that it is helpful for us in the vision impaired community? And I know when things first roll out, when all of this started coming to fruition, it wasn't for the vision impaired community, even though we have been able to really latch a hold of a lot of those things. It wasn't, we weren't their targeted audience in the beginning, I don't feel like, right?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
now they can't not see and hear us because we utilize those things more so than a lot of people.
I
So I think feedback, you
Yeah, I was
know.
definitely talking to the Microsoft team when we were there on Monday about that exact thing to say, you know, blindness is actually really leading aspects of technology now.
Mhm.
And that initial things like voice to text or voice interaction was something that was developed for disability, but is now used so widely that those features are being advanced at a level that, is not just about disability anymore, and not
Right.
just about blindness or low vision. And so it's great that we can lead the way in some aspects to make things easier in life for everyone.
Right.
But was initially designed for people with blindness and low vision.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it's always the way. I was had a student that was deaf-blind in my workshop, and the topic came up: would you kind of rather lose your hearing or lose your vision? And typically, there's always exceptions, but typically people would say what their disability is, or the further along disability if you have both, more severe disability, because you're so used to adapting in that way that
Hmm.
if you were to lose your hearing, we're not attuned to that, right? We don't understand how that would
Right.
be and how we would have to adapt, but we do understand how we had to adapt to blindness. And so we'd rather, be where we are because, like you said, change, right? How are we going to deal with
Right.
not being able to listen to things if we're audible learners and listen to music,
Right.
or, all the things, hear people's voices, the
Hmm.
things that we value so much as people with blindness and low vision. So I always think it's
Exactly.
like really interesting to have that discussion and to see people talk about or advocate really for their own disability and the fact that they can just adjust and they'd rather be, low vision than low hearing.
Exactly. And when I was in Houston, so I have a Lyft driver. They prearranged Lyft to take me to and from the hotel to the clinic site. Do you know, in this same day on Monday, I had two hearing impaired drivers,
Oh
Lyft
well,
drivers, and the app, it let me know that my driver was hearing impaired. So, the first one, it was early morning, really didn't have a whole lot to say, it was and I was trying to be awake and that sort of thing too.
yeah.
Well, the second guy later on in the afternoon, I learned so much from him. He had a cochlear implant, and not only was he was born deaf. The first time he was able to hear was 6.5 years ago when he came here from Palestine. And when he came here, not only could he not hear and speak, he could not speak English. So his the way that I heard him speak, not only English, but to be able to talk, to go from, and this happened in 6.5 years, okay? He was amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. Had he not told me those things, I would not have known. And I
Yeah.
found that to be so interesting. And he said, he asked me how my day was going, and I told him that I had had an injection, in my eye, and that I was there for a clinical trial, that, I'm going blind and that sort of thing. And he was like, well, it's very nice to meet you. I don't usually get a lot of, blind people or whatever. And I said, well, I don't usually get a lot of deaf drivers, but I can tell you one thing. I am happy that you are hearing impaired instead of vision impaired, buddy.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because we all live in our own
Yes.
environment, and sometimes it's like, oh, having a challenging day. You know, I hear a lot of people say, "Why me?" and why this is
Hmm.
happening to me, and heard you talk about videos like that, and I
Hmm.
was saying to my in-laws last night when we were in this big uh, discussion about a philosophical discussion about blindness, and I've never questioned that because I always feel like it's a really fortunate thing for me to be able to help a lot of people.
Hmm.
And I said, like really, I've got my own business now in, my mid years, and I'm helping so many people, but I love it. It's not even like work for me. And
Right.
it just allows me the opportunity to do what I love, and earn a living from it. And I'm really thankful for that. And so,
Hmm.
when you're having a bad day, it's important to understand that there's always someone worse off than you,
Very
that,
much.
there's always someone who's got it harder than you, and there's always someone who needs your help, and needs your experience to be able to get through
Exactly.
things. And so I
Hmm.
just kind of feel
Hmm.
like that, if I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling down, I try to think about other people's stuff and, you know, yes, you've got to go through your emotions, and that's important to be able to deal with. But truly,
Right.
like, you can hopefully find something in your life that makes you feel happy or gives you joy or makes you feel fun. Go do those things when you're feeling down.
Exactly.
It's important to be able to lift yourself back up whenever you can, for sure.
Yes. And your surroundings, when we speak of toolkits, not only are we talking about technological devices or things within our home that we can, add to benefit us. Another part of your toolkit is your support system.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, it is so important. And so it may be a simple kind of thing that you think, oh, I don't need to make this a big deal, but it's really weighing on you and bringing you down. Speak it to somebody. It doesn't matter. Like, somebody wants to listen to you, and somebody may be feeling the same way. Um, so reach out to your support group, surround yourself with people who will be there for you and who will listen to you. And it doesn't matter if it's just to rant for 5 minutes and then, okay, I'm done, I feel all better now. Do it.
Yeah.
So, arming yourself with those sort of tools is also very important.
My support network this weekend is Happy Easter to everybody, by the way. And my support network is eating more Cadbury cream eggs. So shout out to Ethan that this weekend, my support network will definitely be including Cadbury cream eggs.
Cadbury cream eggs. Mine are Peeps. I love Peeps.
Oh, you're a
So
Peeps
yeah.
girl.
Oh, I'm a Peeps girl. I love them.
Favorite flavor of Peeps?
I don't really. I don't
You don't
discriminate.
discriminate, just everything.
No. Yes. I love them all.
Good job. My wife went thrift store shopping with her mother yesterday, which is often a disaster for me because they come back with way too much stuff. But she did buy well yesterday. She bought a ballpark hanging thing that has all of these like slogans to the baseball, which I loved in red, white, and
Cool.
blue. And I thought that was kind of cool. And then she bought
Yeah.
this little Easter carousel with these little egg slots on the top. I'm like, you know what? They'll be perfect for my Cadbury cream eggs to be able to fit in the little slots. So if you
Yes.
find that you put it up somewhere as a decorative thing and you see the Cadbury cream eggs on them, do not move them.
Right.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Um, just quickly, are there any other things that you're using right now or doing? You mentioned your monocular. Interesting thing
Hmm.
for all of those people who love me talking about Australia. In Australia, we called our monoculars, the original monoculars, a mini scope.
Oh, well,
And so
that's
I
interesting.
used a mini scope as a child, and then now I use monoculars.
Right.
But that's another thing. I used to love to go to the cricket when I was in Australia, and much like the baseball, you need. So I used to use binoculars, like regular binoculars, to be able to look at the game. And now I use
Right.
my monocular. But now obviously we're starting to use this one court device, and so the one court device again sits in your lap. You can feel the game, you can hear it real time, and it's just a game changer. And so, if you're going to a ballpark or you're going to an NFL game or a hockey game, even if you're going to go and watch a soccer game for the World Cup that's coming up this year,
Yeah.
look at one court options in the stadium, contact one court, and talk to them about how you can get a home device as well to be able to use it at home and get better audio and better reference to what's happening in the game. That's
Yes.
great. So that's
Yes.
another toolbox must have that's going to change the game for you in when you were at the baseball game.
For sure. I can't wait to use that. I hope I get the opportunity. I am actually going to New York the first week of June. So I'm looking forward to maybe trying to try that device while I'm there because I always fight the blackouts to be able to watch it while I'm in the stadium to see what's
Yeah,
going on, and also the radio feed is always behind, so
yeah.
it's not very helpful. So being real time, oh, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that. So yeah, I'm very excited about that one court. That's amazing.
Now I do have to have a bit of a plug here because I am beating Janelle fairly handily this week. Sorry, Janelle. I know that you are trying hard, but it's an uphill battle. But the Battle of the Tammys, you're actually against my wife this week, and she told me last night that she is winning. So I just want to understand if the nephew tutorial wasn't all that it could have been.
You know what? I got a bone to pick with him about that because
Mm.
I think he led me astray because he's
Uh-huh.
afraid that I'm going to take him out if I start playing against him.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not me, okay?
Uh, your boy is on a bit of a roller coaster to start the year, by the way.
Uh,
It's either
that's how it
strikeout or
always
home
is.
run. What's going on?
I know. I don't know. I know. I don't doubt him though because he
Uh,
does that, and
yes, he
then
had
he
a slow
comes
start
through and
last year, and then he
yeah.
monstered through a month where he hit about 14 home runs, I think. So,
Yes, yes. But as far as the team goes,
mm,
they look really, really good. I'm
yeah.
excited.
We were going to go see because we were in Seattle and they were playing in Seattle, and but it was pouring with rain, and we had to get back. But um,
Mm,
Tammy's a big Mariners fan. My wife is a big Mariners fan, and so she wasn't happy at the Yankee stand where you guys kind of wiped the floor with them. So yes, good start by the
yes.
Yanks.
Yes, 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 yes. And they play today at 1:30 my time, I guess, Eastern time. So I will be watching that for sure to see what happens. But yeah, I don't you have to be a dedicated fan for all the ups and downs that this team
It's a
can
long
bring.
season. It's a long
It
season.
is, and it's just getting started.
I will tell you though, TJ, that I picked up Cam Schlittler in I think the second last round of our draft.
Goodness
And
gracious.
and I have got him in so many leagues because I was very impressed with him last year and
Oh
thought
yeah.
he's going so late in the drafts that I just need to get him because he's such great value. And I think he's the
He
number
is.
three ranked pitcher in baseball after the first 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm very
Yes.
pleased that I trusted my judgment and got Cam. Uh,
Yeah. You snagged a good one there, I'm
I
telling you.
did for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anything else from your toolkit that must-haves?
I think that pretty much covered everything. Smart home devices, use them.
We didn't talk
Smart
about
plugs.
kitchen. Do you do anything in the kitchen for adaptive cooking?
I'm just going to be honest with you when it comes to this.
You don't cook.
I don't cook.
That's right. I forgot that
No.
you're not the chef in the house.
No.
Yeah.
I don't. And but I do, I help my neighbor with a few things. And he has some neat little devices. I don't care anything about that sort of thing.
Well,
No.
for those of you who do like to cook, I can tell you that there are many adaptions in the kitchen that stop you from burning yourself and stop you from cutting yourself up. And so you should really look at you can get the finger things where you have the you can get a full glove which is cut resistant, but you can also get the finger covers when you're cutting vegetables or fruits or whatever you're cutting. There is silicon spill guards if you're using your saucepans. There's gloves if you're taking things in and out of the oven so you don't burn your hands. And a lot of people also have balance issues with blindness as well. So it's always good to be protective. And they have the long gloves that you can put on if you're unsure or if you have balance issues as well. So not just protecting yourself when you're taking it out of the oven, the tray out of the oven, or the putting
Right.
it in, but actually carrying it around as well. So you're covering that. So there's a lot of different things. There's talking microwaves. They've just brought out a talking air fryer. And so even for non-cooks like yourself, TJ, there's things that can help you if you have to reheat or you are looking for a midnight snack where your husband's made you something delicious and you're going to heat it up to be able to enjoy it again.
Exactly. And I do think, was it Janelle this week that was talking about the dots on the microwave?
Yes.
And she touched about when she goes to someone else's house and they ask her to heat something up, and like she's not familiar. They don't have the dots on the
Right.
bumps on their microwave, and she's like, I'm leaning into it
Right.
very closely, trying to see it and that sort of thing. And I'm like, girl, let me solve that problem for you. Just say, don't you know I'm blind?
Yeah.
Choose somebody
Hit it
else.
up yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly. What's going on?
tag your it.
But the dots are actually, I'm glad you brought that up because the dots
Yeah.
are a lifesaver for so many
Hmm.
people. Washing machines, dryers,
Yes. Yes.
ovens,
Hmm.
microwaves, air fryers. And when we teach our students to cook, oftentimes we'll start at the microwave level. We'll put the dots on the start and then a preferred, setting to cook or what have you. And that's where they start to learn. So they'll learn on the microwave, they'll go to an air fryer, then they'll graduate to the oven. So it's a gradual learning process. Using those dots is a big, big tool.
Yeah. I did use them for my neighbor, the Commission for the Blind. He went through the same training that I did, simultaneously here, and they sent him some different devices that he needs, and also something to let him know when his cup was nearing, being full. It sounded for him, and things like that. So we did. I'm familiar with a few of them that I have helped him over there, and with his washer and dryer and the microwave and the oven, things like that. So very helpful.
Braille dots as well. There's Braille measuring spoons, Braille measuring cups. So if you're a Braille user, all of those things in the kitchen, they're amazing. They will definitely help you for sure. So, look at all of that stuff, do some research, use AI to ask what is around. Say what the task is that you're doing. Tell AI that you have low vision and ask them what is available to you to be able to do.
Exactly.
So there's just so much now, which is fantastic. So
it is.
Yeah, try and do some research, and that's your homework for the week, listeners, viewers.
Yes.
Go research something that is a toolkit item that you're going to learn or do this week, and then come back and tell us what your adventure was.
Exactly. I would love to hear all of the things. I am actively learning all the things. So there are things that I know that you all know that I don't have a clue about. So I would love to hear about all of the things that make your life easier in your home or in your work environment. If that's the case, wherever, just let me know what helps you.
Now, there's also Braille games as well. Now in Australia, we call Uno, because we did not grow up with the Mexican heritage.
Oh, gotcha.
So we call it because
they have large and Braille, don't they?
Yes,
now?
They have large and Braille versions.
Yes.
But when I was in Australia, I grew up playing Monopoly. And in Australia, we typically play the English edition, which is the traditional edition. And I have a Braille Monopoly board with Braille Monopoly.
Oh, neat.
And so I really would love to be able to have on these get-togethers that Future Shock Foundation are planning, I'd love to be able to do a blind games night where we play or Monopoly or Dominoes and just sit around and have some drinks and enjoy the gaming experience. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I do too. Yes, for sure.
So that's something to think about, Future Shock, is a games night, a blind gaming night. That could be fun.
No Pictionary.
No Pictionary. Not unless you're really good at telling us what it is.
Right.
Great. All right. Well, we better wrap up. But thank you so much, TJ. I apologize for my technology not working this morning, but we got through it.
Yes, we did. All good here. I'm thankful as always, and I've enjoyed every single second of doing this. So thank you.
Awesome. And listeners, thank you again for your feedback and listening. Really appreciate that. I will try and get this up as quickly as I can through my editor and exert my authority over him to threaten his job and threaten his pay scale if it's not done quickly.
Maybe you should offer him some Cadbury eggs and see if that makes it a difference.
I would, but he doesn't deserve that level of bonus.
Oh,
and I don't know that I'm prepared to part with my Cadbury cream eggs.
I hear you.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone have a lovely week. And again, if you have things that you'd love us to be able to talk about or discuss in the podcast, please send us a DM or a message. Or post it in the post that we do about our podcast. We'd love to be able to talk about what you'd like us to talk about, and we'd love to have some guests on. So we might start doing some guests, episode 5 through 10, and just unwrapping people's stories a little bit, because we see them every day in their posts, and I think it'd be fun to get to know some people a little bit better.
I agree. I love that idea for sure.
All right, everybody, take care. Happy Easter, and
Happy
we will
Easter.
see you down the bunny trail.
Bye.
Bye.